Welcome to Start Lines and Swag Bags, presented by the Flying Pig Project. The airing of this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to replace advice from any medical, professional, or training staff. The Flying Pig Project is not affiliated with or in partnership with any other business, running clubs, coaches, or medical professionals. Thank you for listening and your support.
Hello and welcome to this episode of How Badly Are Rachel's New Glasses Showing That They Don't Have Anti-Glare Coating? This is really bad. Welcome to Start Lines and Swag Bags. You see Marty shaking his head. It's really bad. So this is our once a month recap. That was a terrible intro, but we're rolling with it anyway. This is our 1 month catch up. How you doing, Marty?
I'm great. I'm excited. It doesn't feel like it's been a month, to be honest.
I think it's been 3 weeks. I would say it's been 3 weeks.
Okay. I won't do the
that?
math, so yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it'll be like a month by the time it's up. So
True.
We got that going for us. So I want to tell a funny story before we jump into tonight. Earlier this week, I got the weirdest text from Marty.
I don't know what this is.
Yes, you do. So I had left physical therapy, oddly enough, and I was having this conversation. Someone was texting me and texting me and texting me and texting me and texting me. And I'm driving in my car and I'm trying to respond. And of course, I'm hitting the play button. So safe. And I mentioned something like, is this what you do in the corporate world? And you said, yes, this is what you do. And then I responded, well, I don't have time for this. I have to go home and walk my cat. And his response was, you and I lead very different lives.
Yeah, I did say that, yeah. And I stand by that statement.
I thought that was hilarious. I did, however, send him a picture of Butter with his harness on just to prove that I was doing what I said I was going to do.
I think even if you hadn't sent me that picture, I would have believed you.
Well, I mean, after Butter crashed our last episode too, I think he's tucked away asleep. All right. The very first thing we're going to touch on is at the end of the last episode, Marty and I gave our, what word? Goals for the month?
Yeah, maybe commitments or something like that. Yeah.
I don't remember what the word is.
We committed to doing certain things for the next month, and then we would check in on this episode.
Yes. So, Marty, remind us, what was your commitment?
So I was planning to add strength training to my routine, and I was going to do 3 days a week of strength training every week.
And have you done that?
I did. Yep. I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days a week. And then I added 1 day of core. And I don't mean 1 day a week. I mean, I did it once.
I know, I saw. One little core workout. Yeah,
I need to get that each week. I need to do something there.
Well, but really that wasn't part of the original commitment.
It wasn't. Yeah, you tried to get me to commit also to increasing the weights, which I did not agree to at the time, but I did actually increase the weight. So I'm no longer using the 5s.
What are 8?
We don't have 8s. I've gone up to, I think it depends on the exercise, but I think 15, 20.
Oh, that's a noticeable jump. As a matter of fact, our special guest who we're going to bring in before you said that, because his reaction was kind of, that's a big jump.
Hey, I mean,
Justin, did you?
I was like,
What do you think about that?
hey, I mean, if you feel that you were able to tackle your exercises with good form, you didn't feel any pain during or substantially after the fact, hey, that's a win. And I do find that the first couple bouts of lifting again is usually like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing in the world. But once your muscles start firing in a pretty routine manner, which the consistency seems like it's paying off. So, that big jump, not that surprising, but finger snaps for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think I probably would have started there. Normally I would probably started around that weight, and injured myself or gotten very sore the next day and then not wanted to do it again. So I purposely started with a very, very small weight so that I could build it into the routine without, feeling like this is really impacting my running. So I think that worked pretty well for me.
It did. And of course not your little, actually, we'll talk about that after. We'll get to that later. Hold on.
Okay.
What?
Okay. Because,
I don't know where we're going there, but
I know, because for some valid reasons, people could at this point be going, wait, what? Why is Justin there? Okay. So of course I made the commitment. I had been saying that I had been having some lingering issues with my elbow, is exactly how I presented it. And I needed to go see somebody for it. And I was very resistant. But I have my physical therapist with us tonight. I reached out to Justin. I talked to him. I said, this is what I want to, see you for. And he said, all right, let's go.
Well, first I was like, are you sure? Do you really want to do this?
So I'm just going to say, okay, y'all, I'm just going to say one thing. So like when I was there this past week, I'm laying there and, cause like I had a heating pad on and he's talking with other people. He's using a voice that I'm not familiar with.
Oh,
it was a little stern.
Wow. Okay. So you have a PT voice.
Yeah. And all I could think of was, thank God I'm not here to run. That's all I could think of. Because he said something along the lines of, am I smiling? I was like, oh God. Okay.
I mean, there was sarcastic tone. Don't make me sound like a tyrant.
I'm just saying. But yes, so I have, and I've had my initial consultation. I've been there one other time, and I am now 2 days a week, and it is not my elbow. It is my shoulder. Actually, Justin, you said what it was, and it was all technical. What did you call it?
I believe that the situation that Rachel is dealing with is called thoracic outlet syndrome. Did you want me to go more in depth on what that is?
Well, we'll put it this way. My collarbone, because I think I got it now. So, my collarbone and my first rib, there isn't enough space between there, and there's nerves that run through there. And so depending on what I'm doing, what my motion is and all of that, that's causing pain in my shoulder down the elbow. And it's interesting because it happens, only like with certain movements, which is kind of why I titled like my last swim workout is how to train while healing.
So how do you fix that? Do you have to remove the collarbone? You remove the rib? Like what?
If only was an orthopedic surgeon, I 100% would. And just to prolong the process. No, I'm kidding. But it is something that you can treat conservatively. But I will say surgery tends to be the more aggressive version if there's not as much relief. I'll say luckily, well, actually, Rachel, do I have the okay to kind of go in depth from what I'm seeing as a PT?
We follow all the little disclaimers here. We do all the things. You are free to share whatever about my tricky injury, if for no other reason than because as you and I have talked about, it probably stemmed from an old bowling injury from long ago. And, over the years and bad posture and, coming in and out of being fit, that's a terrible way to say it. It happened. And, maybe sharing, we'll have somebody else go, oh, maybe this actually is something that I can treat and I can make better. And it's not something I have to live with.
Exactly. At least with the history of bowling. So Rachel, shocked me. She's like, oh yeah, I used to bowl and I just used like the 14-pound ball. I'm like, 14? 14 pounds? No wonder your shoulder hurts. But at least when you think about bowling, usually an underhand throw, but there's so much velocity and kind of that pendulum motion that goes through the bowl movement. And that amount of what we call traction, so that pulling force, redundantly through practice, competition, and Rachel doesn't have the best scapular or shoulder blade stabilizing muscles. So normally what happens is upper trap can kick in, other muscles around that area will start to fire, and especially with that velocity dependent motion, and that could be with swimming currently, that can pull on your first rib, making that space more compressed.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that fun? So I'm allowed to swim. We have determined I should not do the backstroke because that again, the as I'm doing it with my right arm to illustrate what I should not do. You should not. Okay, you get the picture. Yeah. But it doesn't bother me when I get on the bike. It does bother me a lot when I run. And I think that's just because, running impacts every part of your body. You're slamming it down and you're slamming it down. But, part of what Justin and I were talking about is how do you heal an injury through you're in training. So it's not like I can just stop doing everything. But also as a really good example, yesterday, all three of us were at the same place. We were at the cross country race. Justin was a court marshal.
I've been saying that all the time too. I'm like, I'm a court marshal. Course marshal.
He was a course marshal. I was a photographer, and Marty, of course, you completed.
I was a participant. Yes,
you were a participant. And when I walked up to Justin, when I saw him, and I kind of didn't want to do this because, he's a friend, but he's my physical therapist. So I go up to him. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. Look, I understand boundaries and all that. But then I showed him the motion I had to do to take the pictures and the motion I had to do with the camera to take the pictures. Of course, muscle memory is always with the right arm. So by the time I was done for the day, I couldn't move my right arm at all.
Yeah, I mean, cameras are kind of right-handed, right? Like the shutter release is always on the right side of the body. Like you pretty much have to do it with your right hand.
You do. What was going on is you hold the camera like this, and most people, when they choose to go into portrait, they default with the right arm coming up. Mm-hmm. And that was bothering me. And the other choice is to go underneath, which was a worse decision. I mean, just totally cranking the arm around. So neither way worked for me, but I had to do it because I was the photographer. But so that, really, Justin, what does it look like? How do you work through that? What do you do when you're healing and training and still trying to do those activities?
Yeah, it is sometimes maybe overwhelming on how many possible factors may cause some pain. In most instances, though, there usually should be a pattern of pain that you should be able to detect. So you kind of mentioned some of the things that bothered your shoulder yesterday, some things that were hurting your shoulder leading up to yesterday, and the magic word when it comes to overuse injuries is inflammation, right? And I try to actually shed light on not making inflammation to be so negatively charged, because end of the day, inflammation is supposed to be a signal system for the body. And if your body doesn't have inflammation, it doesn't actually know to start healing. So you essentially want inflammation to some degree to occur. And maybe if you want to use like the 0 to 10 scale like we use in PT, maybe like a 1 or 2 intensity of inflammation is good. But once you get to like 5, 6, 7, it's kind of stressful to manage all of those factors. So if you can function in a way that doesn't cause excessive inflammation, but then also kind of set the foundation that will allow you to be consistently pain-free, better posture, ensuring that the correct muscles are firing, then you can still exert, like you mentioned. I still think it's okay to swim. Backstroke seems to be the most provocating stroke. So it's like, let's scrap that for now, stick to what you can function with. And at least if I recall correctly, we had a much more in-depth conversation of like, well, how do you envision the swimming for your triathlon, right? And, I never done a triathlon, so I don't really know logistically what is, legal, what would get you disqualified. And then Rachel said like, oh, I could basically like do anything. But I'm like, okay, great. Because you have that level of flexibility, that plays to your favor, in my opinion.
It's funny you should say that, because after we had that conversation, like the very next day, I got in the pool and I started to do the elementary backstroke, which, is a nothing stroke. That's, you're laying on your back and you're just kind of going along. And the main problem I was really having was I was completely unable to go in a straight line and kept crashing into the wall. So yeah, pros and cons, literally. Hold on, I lost it.
That will be true with any stroke in open water.
What will be true of any stroke in open water?
That you can't go in a straight line unless you can pick your head up and sight where you're trying to go.
Well, that's 100% true. That's that's one of the things that I'm fearing the most about open water is there is no line on the bottom.
Nice line on the bottom of the lake.
And after speaking with Volker yesterday, he also reminded me of all the things I'm going to feel in the water. Well, in the open water.
How did you feel after that conversation?
Well, it's the second. Ray had it with me when I had him on. And and starting in Lake Zurich apparently is like one of the worst when it comes to nasty water.
So, like seaweed? What is he talking about?
Yes. Yes. I don't. Okay. When I was a young girl, I was a young girl, and I went to day camp. When day camp was still a thing. We had a lagoon. We used to we were near a lagoon, and of course, back then, there were no rules. There was no safety. you just went and got in the lagoon. And I still have memories of that, and so I can envision kind of what it's going to be.
Yeah, when you right when you get in, when it's shallow, there's probably going to be some muck. Once you get out there, though, you won't. It should be deep enough. You're not in the weeds.
In the weeds. That's funny.
In the seaweeds.
That's what it comes from, right?
Okay. Does it?
I don't know.
Okay, I took it one way. Okay. So the other thing, all right, is I correct my posture.
Thank you.
But the other thing, thank you, you're welcome. The other thing that we wanted to talk to you about is, now, when Marty was using his 5 weight pounds, okay, and he'd do a strength workout, or if I'm doing a whopping 30 minutes on the bike at an easy pace, and the next day I'm supposed to do some stretching or yoga or something, you can get it in your mind that you just did something really easy, so you don't need to do all that recovery stuff. What's your take on that?
Yeah, logically, it does make sense, right? Like, if an effort is easy, you're not necessarily overly taxed. However, there's the question of what was the goal of the easy workout. When it comes to Marty's strength training, he said it was more of a way to introduce weight training that led to more success instead of being overly sore. So that way, when he tackles it again, he doesn't feel like he, caused too much micro tears onto his body where he can't meet that effort. When you do a 30-minute bike ride, the goal is your cardiovascular system, I would assume. However, 30 minutes on a bike, what position are you in for those 30 minutes? Fairly similar for the most part. It's like, oh, I can change my hands on the handlebars and stuff. I'm like, I mean, yes, you can. However, you are going to be in a sustained flex posture from hips, lumbar spine, a little bit of the head, if anything. So in order for us to counteract that accumulation of positioning, that's where your mobility can be helpful. That's when you're strengthening to be a lot more resilient in the opposite direction. So you can balance out, the amount of time you put in on each mode of your training.
All right. Well, that made so much sense.
So what I heard, Rachel, is that I probably don't need to do much recovery the next day, but you do on the bike. That's what I took from that.
It's interesting what I took from that.
I'm just trying to start a fight over here.
Well, okay. So because yesterday, I'm just going to bring this up. Yesterday, after the race, he and I had been talking that I was in a lot of pain, and I started to do something or talk to somebody else, and he came up behind me and he found a bone in my back that was sticking out or something, and he pushed it in. Do you remember you did that yesterday?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Sent me 6 feet in the air.
I think you should probably go to the hospital. You got a bone sticking out of your back. I don't think you can't just push that back in, right?
Well, he tried, but because what he and I had been talking about and stressing on my part is that we're so used to being bent over. We're bent over at our work desk. We're bent over looking at our phone. We're bent over on the bike. You know what I mean? And his whole thing was, okay, can we put something under your back so that you are purposely stretching it in the other direction? Getting that, I don't know, hyper stretch. I don't know what you're going to call it. Call it something. What do you call it?
Oh, the stretch that I told you to try. I mean, it is just thoracic extension, and I suggested a foam roller for the listeners.
Yeah, so something under there. I have a pad I use when I don't do sit-ups because I don't do them. But you put it out and you can feel it arching your back, and you can really let it get a good stretch in. And just then when we were talking about the bike, the bike, you're completely hunched over. It's completely opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing. So even though it doesn't hurt, I should absolutely do some recovery from that just to stretch out my back. Is what I took from that.
That is correct.
Excellent. All right, Justin, we appreciate you coming on, dropping some knowledge.
Thanks for having me back. Always appreciate coming on.
And not like you won't be back again and again and again. I'll make the joke that I'll see you tomorrow, because I will.
You better.
I'll be there 5:00. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
See you, Justin.
See you, Marty.
All right. So now you and I have to catch up on how is your training going?
Well, so I finished the, it was a 10-week plan through Runna. So I finished that. That was the 10-week plan I did for the cross-country meet. Mm-hmm. I beat my time from last year. I didn't, I guess I hit my goal. I didn't really have a specific time in mind other than to be faster than last year, which I hit. I was really close to going under 20. It didn't quite sneak in under 20. And then I guess the goal is always to beat Andrew, and that was a failure again this year. So,
oh my God.
Marginal performance. But I think I did much better and felt much better than I would have without the training, obviously. So I think it was pretty successful. I've started now another plan with Runna for F3. So that's my next race that I have planned for. So
you are going to go to F3.
Yeah. It actually fits really nicely. It basically, I was looking at the plans with Runna and when a Grandma's Marathon training plan would start. And the longest one they have actually starts on February 3rd, and F3 is January 31st. So right after F3, then I can roll into the full marathon plan. So I'll build a really solid base for F3 and then go into marathon training.
That's awesome. Last year F3 was very fun last year. We had a good time last year.
Yeah.
Except for the walk to the restaurant.
It was a little long.
Was long. I want to point out a couple things though about, your goals for yesterday's race.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions weren't exactly what anybody expected them to be.
It wasn't great.
It's technically the 6th year because they did it in 2020 and it wasn't official.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of guys, group one got together, created this thing. And then 2021 was the first official, if you want to call it that. And so I have pictures from all 5 years, and this by far was the nastiest year. It wasn't it was a thin layer of snow on the ground, but it was cold, it was windy.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't very pleasant. I saw, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the pictures you had, I don't think you had yak tracks, but what did you have on your shoes?
Yeah, so I put like those micro spike things. They're like the rubber things that you can put on your shoes. I think it was it probably, I'm not sure if it helped as much as like it added a bunch of weight to my shoe, gave me some traction, but added a bunch of weight. So like, I'm not sure that really, in the end, helped me out.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily hurt you, but were those Nikes you put those on?
No, those were Endorphin Speed 4s from Saucony.
Okay. I was joking that those shoes normally don't see spikes put on them.
No, but I've put spikes. I've put those on Vaporflies before. I've put them on my racing shoes with pretty good success. They just add weight, which I think, if I had to compare myself to Andrew, he had cross country shoes, so I think maybe that was the difference. And next year I'll maybe step it up.
That and his hair.
Sure, yeah, but I feel like that would add a lot of resistance. It probably doesn't help him, other than.
But it's fabulous.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's because he can pull it off. I mean,
he can.
He owns it. Okay, so you've started a new plan that will get you to the half marathon. Mm-hmm. Do you have a specific goal for the half marathon?
So I've done F3 twice now, and every time I've done it, it's been a PR for my half. So I would like to do it again, a three-peat, and beat my time from last year. So yeah, if I can go under 124, I'd be happy with that. Somewhere around 123 I'd be pretty thrilled.
Now, I'm not trying to curse nothing because I'm going to be out there. I'm just doing a 5K because it's something, Ray and his intermediate milestones.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we all love F3, best swag in the world.
Oh yeah.
It's a great race. There's nothing bad we could say about it. So, okay, I'll throw my hat in for the F3, but so I've done it. Well, I did it 2 out of the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather's been perfect in January.
Yes, that is true. The last 2 years I've done it, it has been excellent weather.
Yeah, you have to be careful about that race and goals, because that, I any race you have to be careful about goals. I think that, but I think F3 you have to be a little more, because that lakefront. I don't know what year it was. I think it was 2019. That it was like 4 degrees.
Yeah,
or something.
I've done one half marathon that the starting temperature was, I believe it was -5.
Where was that?
That was in Denver. So it was called the Dam Run, and you run over the Cherry Creek Dam and then down on the trail and back up. And the aid stations, as you can imagine, were frozen, and so the volunteers were in their cars, and so when they would see someone coming, they would all pop out of the car and then get out there and offer a frozen beverage and then hop back into the car. And there was very few people that actually did it because the starting temperature was so low. But
I love that story, though. I mean, that's, when we talk about like local races and things having like more character to them and all that, I mean, that's a fun story that all the volunteers just got out of their cars. Here you go. Got back in.
And that was one of only 2 races where I've not stayed on the course. So there was that one, and then the marathon I did in Wisconsin, I left the course for a brief period.
Okay, I'm kind of laughing at that a little bit more because last year when I volunteered in Wisconsin, there was like this we thought it was a bridal party, but it turned out to be something else. And a couple of the girls, when they were they had scouted out where a coffee shop is. So while they were in the middle of the race, they actually went to a coffee shop and grabbed some coffee. I think they did the 5K of the race. They got some coffee and then they came back and finished. I mean, do you?
I mean, it wasn't on purpose. I definitely wasn't trying to leave the course, but it was, I'll say, poorly marked.
Oh, that never happens. I'm going to tell you that okay. So on my training, this is what Marty did to me. I texted him once and I said, I don't know if I really want to do this workout.
Yeah, I have the text right here. Actually, I took a screenshot of it so that we could discuss it tonight. Would
you like to tell everybody what you told me?
Yeah, so you said, I don't want to get on my bike, just saying. And I asked you if it was on the plan, and you told me that it was. And then I said I was going to ask you about that on the next episode, which is now. And I said, I'll pull up the text and read it out loud, which I'm doing right now. And then you said, and now I've told you so I have to do it. And then I said, I'm going to ask you, did you ride that night? And right now you get to decide what is the answer to that question. What will the answer be?
I did ride that night, as a matter of fact.
Very good.
October, October was, I only had 6 days. Hold on. So I started my training plan on October 6th. We'll say that. And I did swim like 3 days in the first week. That wasn't actually in the plan, but there were only 6 days in October that I didn't do one of the 3 activities. Wow, which nice. To me is stunning. I will say the start of November has been a little rockier. I've been in the pool a lot, as much as I can. I haven't run at all, but again, that goes back to the physical therapy, and because we've agreed that temporarily I can only run on a treadmill, because the treadmill, of course, is softer. So it's a softer surface, which doesn't necessarily make it any better for the jostling. But the whole idea of the treadmill is that if I hurt, I can stop and not have to figure out how to get home.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I will admit, when we talk, like, here's an interesting point. When we talk about why are you on a long plan, it's because you're building in the discipline to do the biking, the swimming, the running, and all of that. Well, I'm fine with the bike because I have a trainer here. We're good to go. I have worked out a schedule with a friend that I go swimming 3 to 4 times a week. Not a problem. I don't have a treadmill. I mean, I have a walking pad and it's not the same. So I got to go to the gym to go running, and I actually haven't figured out how that plays into my schedule yet. Because if I go with my friend when we swim, then I mess up our whole routine, and we've got a routine down to the second where I get her on the train. So I can't play with that. That may end up being part of what I say I have to do.
Is that your commitment for the next month to figure out how to get on the treadmill?
Well, here's the conundrum. Or not conundrum. Because I'm still so early in my training, if I decided to say, you know what, for the next 2 months, I'm not going to run at all. I'm going to bike. I'm going to swim. Okay, I maybe take an occasional walk outside. There's no reason I can't do that. But I also will admit that I took Saturday, yesterday, and today off. I did nothing. I meant to tell Justin, I actually spent like all day flat on my back with a heating pad. And because right now I'm in no pain. Knock on wood.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Like working in the computer isn't bothering me. Nothing's really, aggravating. So, I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
But, tomorrow I have PT, so I'm not going to be doing anything. But Wednesday, back at it, back in the pool, back starting up.
Good.
So
your training is going well. We're working on the elbow thing. We're getting that figured out. Pretty
it's going well
in October.
And I think, like you had posted, like what's the one thing you do to sabotage your training? And I think I was the one who said, don't let yourself take a rest day. And I'm comfortable enough that I'm early enough in everything to take like 3 days off and I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I think that mindset is interesting to say that it's early enough that you can take a rest day and not worry about it. I think the mindset is more like the healthy mindset, right? Is it doesn't matter if you need to take a rest day because it's going to improve the session that you have after it, or because you're going to get too fatigued to properly train, or you're going to get injured. That the proximity to race day shouldn't matter at all, right?
That's very valid. It's an extremely valid point because, if your body's telling you that you need to take an additional day, so I was scheduled to get on the bike today. I could have gotten on the bike, but now that Justin said what he did, about how you're crouched over and, you're in the position on the bike that is literally the position that's giving me the hardest time, because when you what word am I looking for? When you're bent over to be on the bike, you're compressing that area that I have the problem with. So if I was so aggravated yesterday because of the photography, then I'm just going to give it a day to bounce back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where it becomes dangerous is when you're taking rest days because you just don't want to do it. It's not like my body is telling me I'm getting too fatigued. I need the recovery. It's going to be better for my training. It's like, I'm just not that into it right now. That's when the mindset becomes dangerous on should I take a rest day or not? Should I do this workout? Should I avoid it? You have to kind of figure out that balance.
That would be like the text that I sent you that day.
Exactly.
You know, there's no reason I can't get on it. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
But I did. All right. So 1 month from now, what are we going to hold you accountable for?
Well, I need to continue the strength training. So that, I think, 3 days a week, I want to continue doing that. I'm not sure how much of this I want to commit to in terms of volume, but I think one of the things that I don't really do, and I've never really done, is any sort of plyometric exercise. And so I have been telling myself I need to do that to get faster. And so that, I think, I would like to maybe figure out how to do that, because I don't have a good routine for that. I don't have a good set of exercises for that.
For everybody listening, or anybody listening who does, because I know exactly what you're talking about, but not everybody knows what the plyometric training is. Could you explain it?
Yeah. So it's essentially doing, it's a form of strength training, but you're doing sort of explosive movement. So you're lots of jumping, single leg activity where you're really putting a lot of force down really quickly to stimulate fast twitch muscles and your tendons and everything that you use to generate really quick power when you're running. And without, like, strength training, from my understanding, heavyweight strength training, resistive training, doesn't really improve speed very much. It tends to protect you from injury, and it can help you maintain speed over longer periods of time. So in effect, you get better times because you can keep your pace consistent for longer. That makes sense. Your muscles are more resilient. But the plyometric training and sort of the explosive movement training, from what I can see, can actually help increase your speed. So that's one area that I want to start to work on. But at the same time, I'm building my volume. So I was doing about 40 miles a week last month. The training plan that I have now is going to push me towards about 50 miles a week pretty consistently. So I'm increasing that and adding more stuff. So I guess the thing I'm committing to is continuing strength training, and then we'll see where I get with the plyometrics.
Well, I think, saying you're continuing the strength training, because it could be in any form. It's you can change it up. It's still strength training.
Yeah, and I think I do need to increase the weight. So I didn't want to do that ahead of the cross country race because I actually wanted to have a decent performance there. So I do need to increase the weight, so I'm actually lifting weights as opposed to what I've been doing. So that's kind of the other thing to do. So what is it for you? What are we going to check in on for you?
Yeah, I'm torn, and I'll tell you why I'm torn. Because, like, I went to see Justin for the first time, and he diagnosed. He's like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. He's like, you're fine to get in the water. And then I get in the water and I do a great workout, and then I end it with 2 laps of backstroke, and I realized that's not going to work. So I'm still learning how and what I can do. And I think this month could temporarily be a little bit of more of a mental challenge, because I was doing so well, and I'm not going to say I'm not still doing as well, but
what was you said only 6 days last month.
Yeah, this month will be worse. But I think, I'm just trying to make healthier decisions. Like when it comes to the swimming, I was doing great with swimming. I was doing fantastic. Swimming was not bothering my arm at all. Because I happened to try that stroke that day, I realized that's not going to work. So, I have to manage my expectations, knowing that I currently have limitations. I've asked him, if I get on the bike, do I have it? He's like, well, no, but if it begins to really hurt, you need to stop. If you're running or walking and it really begins to hurt, you need to stop. I'm not injuring it further, but we're working on strengthening that area and becoming more flexible in that area and not dissing myself because I can't complete a workout. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
A little? I think I have to be nice to myself this month.
Okay. How will you know if you're nice to yourself?
That's a good question. I think, in all honesty, it's still performing 6 days a week to what the training plan says, even if I have to modify it, and I have to be okay with modifying it.
Okay.
A lot of people, if they have a 40-minute run they have to do, you have to be in the correct mindset to be like, you know what, I can't do 40 minutes today. I just can't. I shouldn't. I can do 20, and it'll be a good 20 minutes, and that's okay.
Okay.
So I think that's what it's going to be. Like I'm still satisfied with my week. Yeah, I'm satisfied with my progress, even though it may be slightly reduced. So, did that make sense?
I think so. Yeah, I wrote some notes, and we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's fair. It makes sense.
Perfect.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, I don't think so. Happy Thanksgiving, because we probably won't do this until after Thanksgiving. Gonna do a turkey trot.
Which one?
We go to northern Wisconsin, so there's a turkey trot up there that we've done every year. I think I'm gonna run with my son this year. It's gonna be fun.
So cute! I can't stand it. They were so cute yesterday. Well, I'm going to be, of course, photographing the Roselle one.
Left-handed.
Already. I'm already having to think about that because you do it. You do what you got to do, and you try to do it in a way that's not damaging.
Yeah, you got to learn how to use your pinky on the shutter release and hold the camera upside down. So your left hand is. Yeah. I
just don't want to drop it. That's I don't want to have to explain that. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I had my phone on the camera.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic thing. Except all of a sudden I'm talking to somebody and I realize the camera's not on my phone. So now 6 people are looking in the snow to try to find my phone.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh, that happened. That's why I was late. I didn't get the women's start very well because I was actively searching for my phone in the snow.
Jeez. Okay.
Sorry, ladies. All right. That's it. I think I love this episode. I still love this accountability buddy because
it's working for me just to know that, I'm going to have to come on here and talk about what I did. It helps.
And I appreciate that every so often I can shoot that text off to you and be like, I don't want to do it.
And I will shoot that text right back, as you know.
I do know. All right, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the Flying Pig Project, Start Lines and Swag Bags. Embrace the crazy to unlock a world of possibilities. And let's see, are the reactions going to work?
I got mine. Let's see. Let's do laser show.
Oh man, you got the laser show.
You gotta do the balloons, right?
I know. What was the one that I found last time that I thought was super cool? It was a new. Oh, it was this one.
Yeah, the rain.
It was the rainstorm. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.